Wow, amazing. This is going to be great. Can't wait. Okay, guys, we're ready. And 3, 2, 1, let's go. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. It's amazing. We're obviously never a podcast episode, which is fantastic. We're still new to the game, but we're hopefully improving as we do each and every new episode in this series. Evidently, as you can see, the series name supposedly is Catabolic Criticism, because as things are built up anabolically, we can also break them down and critique these situations and try and understand how things really are present in the real world, and try and break complicated situations into things that everyone is able to digest, even ourselves in our research for these episodes. Obviously today we're with an interesting topic here, and it's really about how are you guys, or some of you kids, teenagers, going to adapt into this new career-driven world of AI, jobs disappearing, automation, machine learning, and so on. I think that there's no one better to sort of speak a little bit about this than our guest today, Dr. Jitka, and she's going to speak to us a little bit about what all these things mean, because maybe amid those challenges and obstacles, there is opportunity to surpass others who equally find these things difficult. Jitka, thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here. I'm here probably for the 3 reasons, 3 in 1, because I am myself navigating the career journey. I'm newbie here in the South. At the same time, I'm a mother of 3 children, teenagers who are just navigating their career pathways recently. And at the same time, I am teaching students at a high school how to start their online businesses.
Okay, so I think, as you say, 3 in 1, so you have that perspective from 3 different points of view of what it means first as a worker, as a mother, and you really have a deep experience of how this new world is affecting the kids and yourself on all 3 fronts. So obviously no one better than you to give your expert opinion on this. What I can say from our point of view of what we do as a school, evidently at Montalvo, as you know, we want to focus on small class sizes. Why? Because if you know each student individually and you understand who they are as people, not just students, and you understand their personalities, then it's much easier to guide them over the years than to simply have them be lost in a sea of students at school. And it's much easier to pinpoint their weaknesses, identify strengths, and really sometimes to team build and just build them up and to prepare them for these things. How is there's this really big question here. Everyone's throwing this word around about the job markets going to doom, job markets in a decline. What do we really mean with this? And has it changed that much? Obviously it has. What does this all mean? What for you, Jitka?
Yeah, I come from Czech Republic. It's a really heart of Europe, in the middle of all the international collaboration. We used to be a hub for corporate businesses. We used to be a center where international workers came with the asset of multiple languages, helping in customer service centers and so on. It's no longer true. All the businesses are leaving our country, not just Czech Republic, but also Poland. They are relocating to Romania and then to Asia. Already 30% of workforce has been relocated from Europe to Asian market because the workers, it's a cheaper workforce. So the big global companies are relocating people. And the second trend is automation and AI. Already more than 30% of the work is replaced by automations nowadays, especially, for example, those customer services are easy to replace by bots, by chatbots, by automatic power. So that's what's happening in my country. A lot of my colleagues are losing jobs, while corporate environment used to be called the safe environment. You know, you don't grow that fast, but you have that safe spot in the company. You can grow in the company, you can slowly get better. That's no longer true. It's no longer secure. So that's one thing. Second thing, what I see when you move towards the south, here is not the case. You are not in Lisbon or Madrid or Barcelona. Here people do not work in corporate businesses. They need to navigate themselves with the changes, with the infrastructure. And we saw it, for example, in COVID. Here, the region was dependent on tourism. Suddenly, the tourism was gone. Now, it's digital nomading, right? Lots of people travel for work. The world is way more global. You can pick up your laptop and work from any place in the world. And you need what? You need laptop or phone and internet connection. That's it. And you can work from anywhere. And this is something which is really happening at the moment, but the students are still being prepared, the old academic pathway, the old style, for some specific careers which might not even exist when they finish the school.
I mean, that's a big point. And thank you so much for that information regarding your country. And it's scary. And I'm sure people in the corporate environment are afraid of, because they were sold on that stability. They said, you know, don't worry about it. You grow slow, but your job will be here for the next 40 years. And they've been rug pulled. So this last thing that you mentioned, that students are being prepared currently in the old ways, and they're being led down a path which may not even lead to anywhere by the time they finish school or university. How, from your opinion, because we've been hearing about this oversaturation of degrees in the job market, is that a thing? How severe is it? And what do you think we can do to sort of circumvent it? Because obviously university is still seen not the same way as it was 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, but many students still regard university as the way into the job market, the way to secure a job, and the way to secure a career path.
I completely agree, and I can give again example from a personal perspective. When I finished my PhD, I felt my doors are open everywhere because I was one of the 10% of people with university degree and 3% of people with postgraduate degree. Nowadays, just recently, a few months ago, OECD published a study that 42% of Europeans already have at least bachelor's degree. So it's no longer, it's a half of population. It will be half of population when these kids will graduate. So it's no longer a career advantage. It's something normal. Moreover, a lot of people can study online and you can secure a great solid degree from a great university in 1 or 2 years. You don't need to study 5 years to become an expert. Of course, there are some disciplines which change the game. Engineering, medicine, law, teachers, they need a proper education, a full master's degree. But there are many degrees which are losing its value. For example, having a mediocre business degree from whatever business school is no longer an advantage. You can start an online business at the age of 16 and you can be already a successful entrepreneur when finishing your high school. And this is the reality today. Those 19-year-old kids who started enterprising at the age of 16, 17 will be those who will go to the university, study for 5 years, and then understand that they have no job. It's been really significant, for example, in the UK, doctors don't have jobs. A lot of international students really want to go to the UK. So that's what's happening.
That's a big thing. You know, there's more people looking for jobs than jobs themselves. And if you do the math, you can immediately see that there's an issue there. There's problems to be had. You know, I speak to some of my students and many of them have ideas for entrepreneurship. They do see the entrepreneurial path as a very, very strong, valid option. Some of them are in the middle. They want to set up their own business and they feel like they will, but they're open to going to university to understand, to learn from experts, to have that experience, that social life. And then there are others which are full on, very few of them, but full on that they have to go and that there's no other option. So I hear their chats and I hear about the online businesses. And you're right, I have a couple friends who, they didn't go to university, not immediately. They set up their own business. extremely successful, and then they went to university, they finished their degree, because at least in the market that they're active in, it'd be good to have one, but not a requirement. And so they are now very successful. They decided to go back to university, finish their degree, take a bit longer if they have to, but at least they'll have a diploma for their area or their field, their career industry. So that's one other route. What do you think of that? Is that a way of doing it?
It is indeed, and also we are transforming to the society of skills rather than degrees. It's no longer needed. HR departments are usually just checking, oh, he's got a bachelor degree or he's got a degree in that or that, without even checking which university, how long the person studied. Just a tick in the application form in HR had a degree. That's it. Nowadays, people what are interested in skills, digital skills, new skills for the 21st century. And this is something which you can learn online. You don't need to go to university to learn how to work in social media or how to edit videos, how to use AI tools to actually fasten or progress your work and make it faster than without using those tools, right? So these are things you can do online, you can do courses, and these qualifications are new skills of this era. I think that degrees themselves are really more and more specific to some certain disciplines which really require very specific and deep education. So what is the topic about how to find that smart solution? I think, of course, if you choose one of those 5, I call it golden disciplines, they will always have future, because even with the predictions of AI development and technologies, we will still need engineers, we will still need people in IT, we will still need lawyers, we will still need doctors, and we will still need people who understand human mind, meaning psychologists, people in coaching, mentoring. So these disciplines will always need people. However, for example, in technology. A few years ago, there was a huge American support and media support, even governmental support of people who wanted to study programming. And they were massively hiring people for schools and opening doors for them to study programming. Nowadays there are no need. There is no need of them. They really studied hard in the prestigious schools, and then they ended up in Chipotle. There were stories like that they really ended up in some fast food because they couldn't find a job. People from Ivy League schools. Yeah. So this is what's happening. If you go to study technology, you start 1 year, and in 1 year the technology advances so much that, for example, your field of study is redundant. So this is what's happening, and we really need to understand what is the smart solution and smart pathway for this era. So you need to search, you need to go to the really solid university. If you want to study, if you want to take an academic pathway, you need to find a really solid university which already creates those industry networks, and while you study, you are actually securing a solid job. This is what my daughter did. My oldest daughter is now in the last year of Cambridge University studying land economy, and she already has a job in McKinsey & Company because she secured that job during summer internship. And why did she secure this summer job? Because she was from Cambridge. So they even enabled a specific slot for interviews so she can get there. And this is what the good universities are doing nowadays. The regular university just gives you a degree. The top university gives you this pathway to your future job.
Amazing. So that's, congratulations to her on that. And so what you would say is that university is still a smart option, or still a valid option, and still the way if you really research deeply, you investigate, and you try and choose smartly. Because if you just go to get a degree, then you're going to be defunct or redundant by the time you finish, and you will have spent time and money, and then you have nothing.
It can be even counterproductive. At some sectors you can be overqualified. You can have a degree which is no need, and you lose your time to learn those skills which teenagers or young adults are actually learning when they start working early.
I remember my physics teacher, he told me when I was in year 12 or 13, he said that there was a problem, and I think they have a special name for it in German. Germans have names for everything. They just join words together. And he said that one of the problems that they were identifying in the industry was that people were overqualified for the jobs that they were searching for. And so that if you paid them exactly what they should be paid based on their experience and based on their qualifications and credentials, you'd be overpaying for that particular position. And so you need to know what your target's going to be and to what particular course, which job you're aiming for, make the internships count, make those connections worth it, and maybe try and secure a job before you even finish uni, right? So you use it as a credential which is great, that you know the theory, that you know the academic side of your industry, but that you've done internships during your studies so that you know how the real world works, because the ones who are going to solve problems are the ones who are going to get hired, right? Those people are the ones who are valuable to companies, to firms, because eventually that's where everyone ends. Either they work for a firm or a company, or they set something up themselves. So eventually, those are your two options, really. So you have to either acquire the skills and learn how to be an entrepreneur and create jobs, or you have the desirable skills and abilities that a firm would sort of look for, because you have to bring value to them.
And this is something which I actually understand, that the smart solution is to blend both. While creating a powerful profile during your high school for a good university, you can already start with content creation. You can understand how to give value to people through the content you are passionate about. And this is something which I think it's a new skill of this generation. If they learn how to use smartphones and social media wisely, become creators rather than consumers, they have open door to actually present themselves. Nowadays, when the student has a powerful portfolio on social media with thousands of followers, with giving a proper value about some topic, it's also like a secondary CV for a future employer, and it is also a great sign, for example, for a top university.
So yeah, blending both would be the way to go. I mean, here at Montalvo, we do GCSEs and A-levels, which are standard academic qualifications, fine. But it's about what we do in between the classes, or sometimes even during the classes, where I think the real value is. So for example, we do 20 hours of volunteering, which is mandatory every year. We look at what they do from the point of view of, okay, how are you working? How are you studying? How are you preparing? Not just make sure you memorize all the material, but also how are you employing your time? Because you will be given tasks and you will be given different things to do when you're at work, and you may have very short deadlines. So what systems and mechanisms are you using to cope with it? How are you dealing with new homework which is being given and it takes you 3 weeks to do, 3 days to do, but you have to hand it in by Friday and it's Wednesday night. So, okay, how are you going to handle that? Because you'll be sent curveballs throughout life all the time. And so we try and help them with that as well. Mentoring them, guiding them, speaking to them, understanding them as people. And I think that's one of the strengths that we have as a small school, where we're able to really see their weaknesses and their strengths and fortify their weaknesses and bolster their strengths, really. Do you think that would be, what do you think schools should do currently? Work on soft skills, work on studying mechanisms, time management? How could we as an entity, as an institution, help them become more prepared for the real world?
I think this is a fantastic combination which is happening here in the Algarve. It's the region with a lot of practical skills, with a lot of craftsmen, with a lot of people in real, proper, small businesses, also a center of tourism and of international people. So you are blending that together with a solid British system of education, with A-levels, GCSEs, and all the preparation for global market. That's fantastic. Also this practical knowledge and volunteering and compassionate approach to humanity and people around. It's something which doesn't happen in big cities that much. So this is an amazing advantage. And your tailored individual support of each of the students, knowing them deeply, is actually enabling to do the core skill. The core skill of today is shaping a growth mindset. Those who become creators, those who become builders, those who become as soon as possible responsible for their life and for their future career path, those are the ones who will win it. We are living in among the generation, they are sometimes Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they are called lost generation. These kids often spend more time on TikTok and Instagram and TV, Netflix than anything positive, anything active, showing them examples within the region, within the locality of the school, but also within the system which is tailored here. It's something which they can have for the lifetime. Like that idea that from the small place, small city in Algarve, they can go to Harvard, they can go to Cambridge, they can go to Oxford and make a fantastic academic pathway together with having those skills of practical life, of what it takes to, for example, start a small business, connecting to local businesses and local practice. This is something which is very amazing and something which can happen here much more than in big agglomerations and big capital cities.
It is indeed. And what you said there, try and get the best of both worlds and get them ready for the world, because they can go to these top places with what we teach them. And I think there's one thing that you mentioned there, which is absolutely crucial, which I talk to them about on a daily basis, which is they need to make a very important shift from becoming a consumer to a creator. And it's fine to watch, it's fine to consume, it's fine to critique, it's fine to look at things, but the moment that you go from being someone who just criticizes, consumes, has reviews, to someone who creates, is criticized, and has reviews on them, exactly. You engage your brain in a completely different way. And you need to build and give rather than consume and take all the time. And that just changes the whole game of how you are as a person. First of all, you're much more prepared to receive rejection, much more prepared to take failure as a part of the process, because you'll create numerous things, and when they don't work, that's fine. Those who don't create and only consume, they only criticize. They never create something. So they never have the experience of dealing with rejection or failure, and it breaks them inside a little bit. And the more you're ready to get yourself out there, I think the more you'll be prepared for this coming world and this changing world. You become so much more resilient mentally for being an entrepreneur, or even being someone who learns academically and grows within the sphere of overcoming obstacles.
You know that entrepreneurship actually became changing or let's say a differentiator in college admissions as well. Really? Yes, like a lot of American universities nowadays want people to want students they apply to see that they started or funded some non-profit organization or help hundreds of people at some sector, and these are the students who win the admissions. Stanford, MIT, and those universities, Harvard, they really enjoy having already young entrepreneurs when entering the college doors.
I'll tell you one quick story. So last year, we had, obviously there's a girl who wants to become a doctor. And so she was asking me, what should I do to enrich my CV? How can I get this a bit more relevant? How can I get this be more appetizing to universities? And she said, maybe should I do a first aid course? And I said, you know what, why don't we take it to the next level? Why don't you organize the first aid course? What do you mean? And then so at the end, what she did was she called the companies, found people, sending dozens and dozens of messages, So at the end, there was 12 people who actually had to pay for this full-on certified first aid course using a company which is local here in the Algarve on this particular day with catering. It's like 8 hours, starting at 9, ending at 5 or 6, something like that. And so on her CV, that's going to look much more impressive that she organized an event which was paid for, which people came around, than just attending one, right? And so that battle of trying to print posters, call people, face problems, deadlines, organize all these resources, and an event happened. That's valuable, isn't it?
That's exactly another skill you brought me to discuss, and that's leadership. You know, the top universities want to see leaders, not participants. So, for example, a lot of students want to have on portfolio model United Nations, participating in being president or vice president of student council and things like that. But that doesn't show any leadership. That just shows the position. Yes. So those who make a change, those who have impact on the society, on the school community, these are those which are differentiated at the admissions.
Of course. Well, I think we're onto something. I think that's what we try to do here. You know, give them opportunities to be the leaders, to organize things, to go out there, set things up, face setbacks, which is absolutely fine. I mean, they're meant to face setbacks. Actually, if they can detail and report and document their setbacks, that puts them in an even better position because setbacks are a part of life. And I think if there's anyone who hasn't faced any setbacks, they haven't tried anything. And I think these firms, universities, institutions want people who have tried things, gone out there, are courageous enough to sort of brave the world and try and face these new challenges. As a sort of closing statement, what would you say? What's the actionable advice that parents should have? What should they be doing if they want their kids to either A, go to amazing universities, or B, become entrepreneurs in this new job market? Because those two are the ways of making it out alive. What would you say?
I will say something very controversial, maybe.
Hit them with it.
I will say, don't try to persuade them, but model it. Be an example. Be those who work relentlessly for your dreams. Be those who face the setbacks and challenges in life and still go on and pursue your dreams. This is something which inbuilt in kids. I was thinking about my daughter, who is now in Cambridge, that she is not resilient or she is not really that, big fighter, but it showed because I am, and her father is as well, so we gave the example that this is the way to go, and she took it at the right moment, and now she is where she is. So I really understand that good example, modeling it at home, and as you said, modeling it at the right school environment is the key.
Amazing, great then. And we try and do that here as well, as much as we can, and we'll take your word for it, we'll take your advice, we'll look at ways of getting them to face difficult situations, obstacles, and we really do hope that the kids here feel that we care about them in that manner, that we give them opportunities to have to overcome tasks individually and together. And ideally, that's going to create the perfect profile, not for the person who is perfect at everything, but perfect to overcome obstacles that would come towards them, because that is a certainty. And I think if they have those skills and that resilient mindset and that growth mindset within them, they will be extremely valuable to whichever community or firm they are a part of, or firms that they lead as leaders. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on this 5th episode of Catabolic Criticism. As you know, we have just started this initiative, and we'll keep on going until we can. I think, as Jitka would say, if they keep pushing. Thank you so much. Jitka, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Good luck in everything.
Great.